Asinibusele sanamukela lamhla ehlelweni Kusile breakfast show ngolesihlanu sevele shayela insimbi esikhombisa lokusho nakuqala kwelihlelo lakho lolithandzako kukhumbuta ukuthi ungakhona nokusibukela ka YouTube kanjalo nasecingweni lakho mangabe download Eswatini TV app lenivusela ngilungelele amagagula deyisithupha enyangeni yapembethwana umnyaka ngo-2023 sanivusela lomhla ekseni sidabuka nje mhlambe leto litange phandle kwakuleli kafishane bese sichubeka nato makuphela tindzaba tethu sidabuka khona eveni lase China lapho khona inhlangano yamhlaba yetempilo WHO isola live le China ukuthi lide kahle liqiniso ngetinombolo labathe khokhako tebantfu labanemkhuhlane iCovid-19 kanti ke ngokubona kwe-WHO simo eChina sibucayi kakhulu futhi ke itinombolo tisetulu kanti ke nabantu bashona kakhulu lo mbiko ke wa-WHO eveta ukuthi in the last 2 weeks prior to January 4 China reported fewer than 20 deaths from local COVID cases, and according to these figures released on the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention website. Kanti futhi ke naye mengameli welive lasemelika Joe Biden naye ukuvetile khathateka kwakhe ngaloko lokwendiwa live le China. Ke uhulumende wase-China yena uyakuphikisa lokhu lokushiwo ngu-Biden kanye na-WHO uthi kude imanga labawacambako ngemibiko ya labayikhokhako yebantfu labatholakale nalomkhuhlane. Dokumela ukuthi live le-China linciphise imigomo yokulwa nalomkhuhlane enyangeni lephelile kulandzela ukuthi kube nesiteleka kulela live. Kanti lokhu sisikhuluma nje kusukela mhla 4 January 2023 tinombolo tebantu emhlabeni wonke lasebatfolakale ukuthi bane COVID-19 bangetulu kwa 657 million ama cases lofaya khathi nema deaths lango 6,675,000 tinombolo keleti letikokwe ngiyo inhlangano yakamhlaba yetempilo sadibuketa kabanti ke leto tangephandle kwakuleli nasicetha tindzaba tethu lomhla ekseni asibahle temakethe sayibe khona manje.
Watch local TV on the go with the Eswatini TV app for only 20 emalangeni per month. Do the most with Eswatini TV app. Download from Google Play Store or App Store.
We're good together. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Asiphinde sinemukele sakuvusela nawo losanza kuzivulela sidongena kitwa tindzaba silengosi Mswati wesithathu sesikhiphe libutho letingatsha tesifundza sakahoho kuthi liyongenela esigodlweni engabezweni ingonyama ekhiphe lelibutho esigodlweni ebuhleni kanti lomsebenzi wokuphuma kwalo bongenelwe lisekela lamengameli waseNingizimu Afrika David Mabuza.
Thole tingatsha liphume kubobabe tikhulune abantu abenkosi emiphakathi lehlukahlukene lefika esigodlweni ebuhleni selilungele ukuthi ingonyama ilikhiphe ukuthi lehlele indasi esigodlweni engabezweni lomsebenzi bongenelwe lesekela lamengameli waseNingizimu Afrika David Mabuza lelo uvakasho lwakhe lungahambisani nemisebenzi yakhe kuba lisekela lamengameli khulumende waseNingizimu Afrika kodwa ulapha eveni kutawufaka emandla enkosini agidze incwala njengeliswati uhola ke libandla letikhulune abantu abenkosi labatinde esifundzeni sasempumalanga khona eveni laseNingizimu Afrika silo semhlaba sigidzenalo lelibutho singakalikhiphi sisingethwe ngemakhosi kati sisingethwe ke ngawo emalangeni abantu abenkosi nemhlonishwa ndvunankhulu nawo ke lacwebetela kona labanye emabutho emnikati. Impube emhlaba ibe seseyalikhipha libutho ngendvuna yemajaha pha ngenjobo Matisa lememetele yonke imininingwane ekuphuma kwalo.
Isingosi angitshela yanikhipha la kahohe ebuhleni. Ngiyawulala ebulanzeni. Ihlangana nani kusasa engabazweni.
Liphumile kanjalo ke libutho lesuka esifundeni sakahola libhekisa esigodlweni yeNgabezweni ngesikhathi liphuma likhishwe ngiyomathupha ingonyama yeMaswati lebeyisingethwe ngilo lesekela lamengameli waseNingizimu Afrika. Libutho kubhekeke ukuthi lingene esigodlweni yeNgabezweni ngalesihlanu. Ngisandile Makhanya endzabeni temsakado yeSwatini TV esigodlweni ebuhleni.
Emaswati solo ayachubeka nekungenela umkhosi wengcwala ngemgcumo esigodlweni elisithini lapho khona holwa indlovukazi Mhlekazi. Ingcwala lencane solo ikhomba kuba yimpumelelo kusukela yaqala.
Emabutho ngakwehlukana kwawo solo akapheli nani emandla kugidza ingcwala lencane esigodlweni elisithini lapho ahola khona indlovukazi Mhlekazi. Noma timvula tibe ngemandla kulamalanga kodwa eMaswati akwavimbi emandla ukuthi yachubeke nokungenela lomkhosi ngemidlandla nangelisasasa. Lapha sikethe indlovu yemhlaba ekwitheni solo ngiwe emakhosikazi esilo kanye nesigodlo. Kanti ke tikhona netindvuna tembuso kanye nemabandla. Libutho lengatsha lebuya kubo babetikhulu eveni selicalile kufika kutawungenela lisiko lelisekwane. Ingatsha ibheke ukuthi ikhokhwe ingwenyama yeMaswati inkosi uMswati wesithathu ukuthi iye kuyawukhalisekwane ngaphambi kokuthi kufike lilanga lencwala lenkulu. Etintabeni kubika pholile maziya esigodlweni eluthithini.
Apalane lomkhulu etiko letekulima Sydney Simelane uthi umbila loshaywe sangcotho lebo usengakafiki ematfolweni usengavuka. Simelane uthi litiko lisibukisisile lesimo lesivelele balimi etindzaweni letikhethekile lefaka ekhatsi empolonjeni eMbabane.
Ngakhisimusi kwaba nemvula lehambisana nesangcotfo lesalimata umbila emasimini. Litiko letekulima lendeke licwaningo kutfola ukuthi balimi balimele kangakanani.
Sikhanza ukuthi tindzawo leti affectekile kakhulu kusempolonjeni lele la eMbabane, and then bese kuba ngisenkoyoyo, bese kuba nakubomotshane dikhona tindzawo nakhona letitsindzekile. Umuntu ke akasho lokho ukuthi sive sinaso nje kakhulu impela kuloku, ngoba lokhu nawukubuka kahle nginaku lesikhuluma ngako nasikhuluma nizaba abo climate change. Bashayekile balimi bakithi ikakhulu empolonjeni umonakalo mubi etihlahleni, tivitsi ke kwaphela emacembe vele, saphinze sakhanza ke ukuthi ke embileni ke manje umbila ulimele umbila kakhulu. Inhlanhla mhlawumbe laba ngaba nayo emaswata kithi ngokuthi lo mbila bosesemncane ungephasi nje kwemadvolo. So now sengako lo mbila liyawuvithita lelitulu noma lesangcotho, emva kwaloko uyahluma lo mbila ubiyele uphinze uthele futhi kahle. So asilahli ke lithemba sithi nje amaswati akangalimi kabusha, akawuyekele nje lo mbila nangabe bosemncane utawuphinze uhlume ubiyele ube kahle.
Litiko letekulima litibekele umgomo wekuthi balimi bakhicite umbila lo 140 metric tons kute-ke live likhona ekudondla. Lesehlakalo sekulimala kwembila kuyicekela phansi lemgomo. Tindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni nambongwa Dube eMbabane.
Inyuvesi yase-Eswatini isakhulumisana nenkampani yahulumende lebutha umthelo ngendzaba yesikweleti lenaso nalomthelisi. Inyuvesi iniketwe kude kube inyanga yeNdlovulenkhulu ukuthi ilungise itinsayela ebhekene nato kude ihlobise isikweleti sayo semthelo. Lokho kucukethwe ngumbiko welikomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwetimali tembuso lesebemukelwa nayindlu yabayesikhulu.
Likomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwetimali tembuso, Public Accounts Committee, like labuta kutsi nangabe tinkampani tahulumende ticolelwa tingabhadali umthelo letiwukweletako, ngubani lokufanele abhadaliswe wakakhe umthelo. University yase-Eswatini, University of Eswatini, kungathi seyikuvile lokhu njengoba seyicalile ukukhulumisana nenkampani yahulumende lebutha umthelo yeSwatini Revenue Services ngesikwelete sayo semthelo lesingetulu kwa 688 million wemalangeni. Le nyuvesi iniketwe kuze kube kungenyanga yeNdlovulenkhulu ukuthi ilungise tinsayeya lebhekene nato. Lokhu kucukethwe ngumbiko weminyaka wahulumende lophele ngeNdlovulenkhulu eminyakeni wa-2021 wemcwaningi mabhuku lomkhulu wahulumende wekubuka ukuthi ematiko wahulumende netinkampani takhe kuyalandzela yini imigomo yekusebenta. Kulombiko kuyavela ukuthi le nyuvesi ithi hulumende ubamba 9 million wemalangeni emalini ilayiphakela yona kuze kunciphiswe lesikwelete semthelo. Ngetulu kwaloko le nyuvesi yaniketwa umsebenzi wekuthi itfole indlela yokugucula lomkhumbi wenyuvesi salohamba ngendlela lefanele. Le nyuvesi ithi isetawuhlangana nelibandla lebaholi bayo kubikisana ukuthi yini lengentiwa ukuthi lo mkhumbi sale uthatha indlela lengiyo. Lokunye lokuvetwe ngile nyuvesi ukuthi hulumende akayiniketi kahle emaphakelo ayo njengobe ahle afika ashoda. Kubekisiwe ke ukuthi le nyuvesi ke yatfola ngetulu kwa 30% kuphela kwaleyo lebekufanele iphakelwe yona. Yengetile le nyuvesi nekuthi seyicale nekwakha imali ngenkampani yayo lokuyichagaza Holdings. Le nkampani ikutekulima, tekwakha, tekutfunga kanye nasekufakeni emakhamera. Ndzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Themkosi Mavimbela eMbabane.
Tangoma telitulu setibike ukuthi busuku bangalesine kubheke ukuthi kube nemvula lenamandla. Lokusho kwesangoma selitulu Dumsani Sithole ngalesihlanu kubheke ukuthi kube nemvula lelula. Sithole uNcuse eMaswati kakhulu lawo langahle ahamba ebusuku ukuthi acaphele njengoba letimvula tenta umonakalo nasemigwaqweni.
Bheke ukuthi kube netimvula lebheke ukuthi ticine and tibe close to widespread kulamhle ebusuku. Titawo bangathi tinamandla nyanyana. Titawo yangekuncipha ke kusasa but ke we're having those thunderstorms that is namhla ebusuku titawo yangekuphelwa ngemandla kusho ukuthi kusasa bese ke kuthi ngalesi ngemgcibelo kulapho sitaba nemvula letilula nje kanzi ngelisonto sesibuyele emva labaphahle cloud. The unfortunate part is that noma ke lokungathi abusiko lokukahle ukuthi nje sinaleti imvula continuously setingahle kuletinye tindzawo tibe nalo bungoti ukuthi letinye tinto tingagcina setidzilika tinto letingafana letingathathi kasito letiqinile tingagcina setidzilika lokho kuvamile ukuthi kwendeke nabe litulu lina continuously noma lina lingabe lisema akubi ke ukuthi indlu kuphela nasemgwaqweni njena na uhamba emgwaqweni na ungabe uwehla nje welahlamalagwane kukhona lapha ngase lapho kuhle kungathi kuhle kubihlika khona lawo ama possibilities letindzawo lethi thukati ngathi tibihlika akhona uma selina continuously futhi lina ngemandla.
Umsolo walo bekaheha emantombazana etinkundleni tekuchumana bese uyawadlwengula sewuboshiwe. Umsolo oneminyaka lengemashumi lamathathu kanti emaphoyisa afuna labanye labadlwengula ngulomsolo ukuthi bavele batawubhalisa titatimende.
Noma tinkundla tekuchumana tinebuhle lobunyenti bubi bekutisebentisa buyachubeka nokuvela kungumanje kunemantombazane lekusolakala ukuthi adlwengulwe ke lijaha lelineminyaka lengemashumi lamathathu etigamekweni letehlukene. Leli jaha beliheha lamantombazane lisebenzisa Facebook litibita ngeligama lelithi nguBlesser Cedric.
Sinendvodza leboshiwe ngekubambisana kwamaphoyisa kaManzini namliba bagcina babopha indvodza eneminyaka lengama-30 eminyaka budzala yalapha kaBhek Nkosi. Loyo kunene ke bekasebenzisa Facebook ahuhe bantu besifazane athi bangagcina bafikile kuye bese ungena nabo ehlathini uyabadlwengula. Lo sikhuluma nje sisinawo ama-cases lang-4 lesiwaprovile lata ukhona ukuthi angene khona enkantolo. Siyasola ke ukuthi bakhona mhlawumbe labesabile kutoripota emaphoyiseni siyabakhuthaza ukuthi abavele batowuvula lawo macala sitokhona ukuchubeka sisebenze siwamixe khona enkantolo.
Amaphoyisa awekhutile lo moya wekusebenzisa kabi tinkundla tekuchumana acelile nesive ukuthi sicaphelisise sisasebenzisa tona tinkundla tekuchumana. Zabente Eswatini TV kubeka Themkosi Mavimbela nasonto Mlangeni nambonga Dube Embabane.
Kushaya umfana sokubone babe walomfana nabodzadze wakhe lababili bangena ekhulukuthu. Emaphepha asenkantolo athilo babe nalabodzadze wakhe bashaya lomfana baphinze bamekhama benza babe sembikwamanje sihle dlulo.
Sisemhlangano neminyaka lengu-51 kanye nabodzadze wabo lababili lababothembane Mhlanga loneminyaka lengu-52 kanye nantombi futhi Mhlanga loneminyaka lengu-48 baboshelwe tinsolo tekushaya umntwana Sifiso. Labasolwa kuthiwa basolakala ukuthi bashaya phephisile ngetibhakela netimbama emahlandla umtimba wonke. Ngetulu kwaloko labasolwa basolakala ukuthi baphinze bamekhama phephisile. Sifiso utsite nase kutekwa lelicala utasivuma lesendo kanzi bothembane nantombi futhi batsite batawaphika lamacala njengobe bebalamula. Lendzaba itawubuya enkantolo mhla tisikhombisa enyangeni letako. Ngakulokunye bafana lababili labaneminyaka lengu-16 baboshelwe kushaya umuntu ngenhloso yekumlimata. Umbiko wasonhlalakahle uthi lana bekubangwa intfombi kubuywa esikolweni. Labasolwa lababili bathe ngekulwa nalembangi yabo base bayayigwaza lapha ngemuva emhlane. Inkantolo itsite abatokele ngephandle babuye phambi kwayo mhla ka-17 kule nyanga nome sonhlalakahle atsite abagcinwe emnyango wemajele njengobe abakhombisi kuconza ukuthi kukabi ngani lalabakwentile. Lomunye lovele enkantolo nguNokwanda Mamba loweba lucingo kumuntu kaManzini waphindze walihlofota. Lomsolwa uhlawuliswe imali lengu-3,500 emalangeni walelucingo waphindze wagwetshwa iminyaka lemibili nome abhadale 2,000 emalangeni. Lesijubo silengisiwe noko imali yelucingo yona uyibhadele. Ndzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Themkosi Mavimbela kamanji kamanzini.
Umkhankaso wa 1 billion rising sawufinyelele emangweni lenge-25 lapho bebafundzisa khona sive ngokugwema kuhlukubetana. Ekusho komxhumanisi walomkhankaso esifundeni lisesandasini ye-Afrika Xolani Hlatshwako obaba etikhulu sebakhombisa kuba ngemahlahlandlela ekulweni kuhlukubetana lokwenta kube melula kufinyelela ekufundiseni lesive. Hlatshwako bekakhulumana akachaza ngetinhlelo tabo teminyaka lophelile.
Sebente emimangweni leminingi kakhulu njengoba sikile cishe ethi emimangweni leng-25 kusuka kulo 16 days of activism sichubeke ngisho nangama-holiday nanyalo solo siyachubeka siyoxoxisana kule mimango njengoba-ke siyathi ukuthi singumkhankaso sikhuthaza ukuthi imimango ayakhetha igungu tekuxoxisana lapho sitawukhona ukuthi silwe nalo loludlame nekuhlukubeta lokukhona lesikubona kukhulu ngelizinga lelikhulu kakhulu eveni la Kangwane. Umumva ngasho nje ukuthi nakule mimango leng-25 lesiye kiyo nalesichubeka sifundisa kiyo lunengi udlame kunengi kuhlukubetana lesikubonako and le mimango leng-25 iqhamuka ifundzeni intotine lelive la Kangwane. Lizinga lekuhlukubeta likhule ngendlela lesimanga and liqhamuka ngetindlela letehlukahlukene lapho bomake nemantombazane bacindzeteleka noma bahlukubeteka khona. Sisasebenta-ke kule mimango ngingasho ukuthi imimango inesifiso sekubona ukuthi siqhamuke netisombululo tekucedza lokuhlukubeta. Sibambisene nemimango bobandlancane bemiphakathi, sibambisene nabobabe nensha emimangweni njengoba kuxoxiswana kanjalo nabomake. Kepha lokubadumata kakhulu emimangweni laba kusho ukuthi imetamo yabo yekulwa nekuhlukubeta angeke ibe ngilelo nempumelelo langabe uhulumende ayidzebesela indzaba yokuthi indzaba yekuhlukubetana ibe sehlakalo. Kwenta lokuthi le mitamo yabo iphelele tene noma iphelele ebaleni ngoba kunetingoni lapho nabathi bafika khona bafike bashayise. Kanti naseyentiwe yaba sehlakalo siyawenda siciniseko silive ukuthi tonke tingoni letibuke tindzaba tekuhlukubeta tingileto letisebenta ngekubambisana tingileto letisebenta ngekwenta siciniseko sokuthi siyalwa ngakubambisana ekulweni nekuhlukubeteka.
I-World Vegetable Center sevakashele umphakathi waseTfundini yawuhlanyela tibhidvo temtsabu ngenjongo yekucucutela kuhlanyelwa kudliwa kwato. Vincent Matsibulala umlimisi we-World Vegetable Center uthi enhlangano isukumisela umkhankaso wokuhlanyela tibhidvo temtsabu etikolweni emangweni naseveni lonke kulandzela ukuthi yente lucwaningo itfole ukuthi tibhidvo letinyenti temtsabu setisilahlekele ngenca yekugucugucuka kwesimo selitulu. Letibhidvo tfaka ekhatsi imisobo, imbuya, chuchuza kubala kuletinye.
Kusho kwemlimisi lobuya e-World Vegetable Center Vincent Ncumalo uthile lo hhovisi lihlose kubuyisa impilo esiveni seMaswati kudliwe ngaloludzala.
Lebuke cwaningo ikakhulukazi kutibhidvo tishe emhlabeni wonke jikelele. Sinekuthi sekulula ukuthi singene tifo lesetikhona. Netifo letikhona setinengi kakhulu akusafanele ngale sekanjani sesidla ngako siyekelela kudla nako labe bakudla itolo. Kanti kusisika kakhulu. Nawu kwasiyazi ibhedlela letinkulu khanze malayini asalapha amanzi ngokuthi bantu kanjani bayafuna. Ukugula kufika ukuthi umuntu akadli kahle. Ngoba lelo kudlawo ngiko lokwenta ukuthi noma nawu tawufaka ukugulisa utawufuna phela. Nawu tawufaka ukuphilisa utawuphila.
Joy Ndwandwe losebenzisana na Dr. Fikile Ncumalo losebenta ngeguquguquka kwesimo selitulu lokungiyena atfole lusito uthite loluhlelo lutawuba lusito emangweni wasenkambeni njengoba kuguquka kwesimo selitulu kutsethe letinyenti titselo netibhidvo temtsabu letingasabonakali.
Kuguquka kwesimo selitulu kushaya bantfwana kushaya umndeni kushaya umango. Sifiselo kwathi ukuthi la enkambeni kubashaye kuphi kuletingoni letintsathu niyo injongo yakho.
I-World Vegetable Center ithi tibhidvo temtsabu tibalulekile futhi tinetitsako letidzingeka kakhulu emtimbeni njengacuchuza lobeliswe wentiwa litiya leliyiteshukela ulusito kubesifazane uma basemfuleni. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV ngingibongosi Magagule enkambeni.
temidlalo mabhalane wenhlangano yabaqeqeshi kuleli Musa Mamba uthi kulomnyaka batoba nemihlangano sikolo lapho bahlose ukufundisa khona abaqeqeshi abadlalisa etigodzini. Mamba uthi kumcoka ukuthi badlali labancane bathole ukuqeqeshwa lokungiko kusukela abasebancane lokubasita ukuthi bakhule batayele ukuqeqeshwa.
Kuna kusensitizer i-coaching from grassroots level. So sitsite sitawuqala kuma regions elibonjeni sesiyile la khona bo coach labe bakhona nje bebang 41 sinabo kalanga ngemgcibelo kungumgcibelo nangelisondo. So sithi ke na kule weekend lesiya kiyo sitabe sinawo ema workshops ethu lenye itabe ila kamanzini lenye itabe iseshiselweni la khona sifuna bo coach bonke baka Super League na lamanye ema zones labanawo, so that is to ba sensitizer about coaching. Sikubita ke ngekuthi loku it's a pre-license workshop la khona sitabafundzisa without any pressure of kubhala i-exam. La khona batawufunza kuthi lokho labakutholile bambe bayokusebenzisa emathimini nase bakusebenzisa ke emathimini le bhola sitawuqala ke lapho siyithuthukise from kuma regions bathi badlali befika kubo first division befika kubo Premier League befike sebakwati kwekuthenini kuba nemuntu embi kwabo lobanika i-direction.
Ngaleto temidlalo siyatephetsa atinza bathetfu stawu sasalikhefu sabuya sichubeka nehlelo.
Lifestyle is about attitude, values, interests, and behaviors. And this is Eswatini Lifestyle, the show that shares stories of incredible people, events, businesses, and tastes that are meant to inspire Emaswati.
Be bold. Eswatini Lifestyle is Eswatini's premium lifestyle magazine show.
Asimze silemukele sakuvusela nawo losanza ukuzivulela lesikhathi sitawubuka leto ngaphandle kwakuleli sitawuqala khona eveni lasemelika lapho khona uhulumende wedolobha laseCalifornia sekamemedele simo lesiphuthumako kulandzela timvula letimatima.
Oh my God, this is like the apocalypse.
Rainfall so heavy it's called an atmospheric river. Another heavy storm is hitting California, with downed trees, rising rivers, and electrical lines knocked out, cutting power to around 100,000 people. Sandbags have been placed on banks and before homes across the state, namely in the Bay Area. The San Francisco region is bracing for 6 inches or over 150 millimeters of rain. That's on top of the already saturated grounds from storms in the past week.
We're
nervous, scared.
Yeah, we're scared. We're getting more sandbags and just buckling down the best we can.
With the governor having declared a state of emergency and the mayor of San Francisco saying they're preparing for war with the storm, flood warnings were in place across the state. Already over the New Year's holiday, atmospheric rivers or channels of rain coming from the Pacific drenched homes and businesses.
This disaster destroyed all our equipments. We had to throw away all our produce. We tried to build a metal protection to prevent the waters go into the restaurant again.
Damages and victims aside, there is a silver lining to the heavy rain. It could help with the state's drought. That is, if the replenished snowpack in the Sierra Nevada mountains stays put until the spring and summer.
Live lase-France lithumelele live le-Ukraine timoto tehlobo likhetsekile kusita empini lesolichubeka emkhatsini kwalo nelive le-Russia.
105mm cannon, its 6 wheels, and its capacity to take 4 soldiers quickly into battle, the AMX-10RC is a reconnaissance speed demon. Over 15 tons, it can go 80 kilometers per hour on roads, cross rivers, and quickly eke out enemy positions. And France has decided to send an undisclosed number to Ukraine, much to the appreciation of Kyiv.
France brings a new level of European defence support to Ukraine, and I thank President Macron for his leadership. We'll get more armoured vehicles, including French-made wheeled tanks. This gives a clear signal to all our other partners. There's no rational reason why Western-style tanks have not yet been supplied to Ukraine.
Developed in the 1970s and in use since the 80s, the AMX-10 falls short of the Abrams, Leopard and Leclerc tanks that Zelensky has been asking the US and Europe for. But it does provide newfound reconnaissance capabilities for the Ukrainian army. And the pledge is a shift for Paris. France has one of the largest military budgets in Europe, and it has been sending weapons to Ukraine. But Emmanuel Macron's been criticized for being wary of providing certain types of state-of-the-art weaponry for fear of antagonizing Moscow. The Élysée said in a communiqué that it's now ready to amplify its support. According to the Kiel Institute, France ranked 10th last year when it comes to military aid, be it financial or in the form of weapons.
Manje amasotsha even laseSyria sekasomise military campaign kutolwa letargete Islamic State militants.
The US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces SDF launched a multi-day operation against operatives affiliated with the Islamic State terror group in parts of northeast Syria late last week. The campaign comes only days after IS militants attacked a prison in the north that left 6 SDF soldiers dead. Local military officials say the US-led coalition against IS is helping the campaign taking place in several towns and cities in northeast Syria.
Our forces had intelligence about plans by IS cells to carry out attacks during the New Year's Eve celebrations and the following days. We started this campaign to disrupt those plans.
According to local officials, the SDF has detained at least 120 suspects so far and confiscated several small arms. The SDF is made up primarily of Kurdish and Arab fighters who said they are being pressured not only by IS militants, but also by the Turkish military, which views them as terrorists. Ankara, on the other hand, says the SDF is an extension of the Turkey-based Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, which Turkey, the US, and the European Union have designated as a terrorist organization.
We are dealing with attacks by Turkish military and attacks by IS at the same time. Everybody says IS is a threat, but these Turkish attacks make IS even stronger and more organized to wage attacks on us.
Since November, Turkey has been threatening to launch a new military offensive against the SDF and other Kurdish groups that Ankara views as terrorists. For now, officials here say this campaign against IS elements will continue as long as it takes to ensure the terror group no longer can target local communities. The SDF has been leading the fight against what remains of IS since its caliphate collapsed in 2019, and the SDF declared its territorial defeat. US military officials say they took part in more than 100 military operations in Syria last year, arresting over 200 militants and killing over 400 others. For Zana Omer and El Hol, Syria, Sirwan Kejo, VOA News.
Live laseTunisia libhekene nesimo semnotho lesibucayi kanti sidinga i-bailout ye-International Monetary Fund.
Pessimistic start to the new year. Tunisia's central bank governor warning against the consequences should the deal with the IMF fall through.
The problem we're facing today is that 2023 is going to be a complicated year if Tunisia doesn't reach an agreement with the fund in terms of mobilizing external financing and even domestic financing.
The IMF's rescue package would provide Tunisia with around $2 billion. It's been pending since October. According to the authorities, the deal was held up partly because of delays over the budget, which has been met with resistance. The country's powerful UGTT trade union has warned it would hold mass protests against plans for new austerity measures. It's described the new budget as an injustice and as increasing the suffering of Tunisians. On Wednesday, the central bank governor announced tougher measures to come.
There will also be a gradual lifting of subsidies. on basic products, in particular when it comes to fuel. Over the next 3 to 4 years, we will see prices increase significantly.
Tunisia has been grappling with a severe economic crisis. Inflation reached a record high of 9.8% in November. And in the past months, some shops have resorted to rationing amid shortages of basic goods and fuel.
Kanti iPhalamende yaseBenin ibheke ukuthi ibambe likhetho lasePhalamende kule mpelasomvo lesiyakiyo.
A few days before the legislative elections in Save, a township in central Benin, the political climate is calm. Memories of the violence that followed the 2019 elections are fading. The election campaign atmosphere this year is friendly.
Everyone is happy. It's a party like it was in the old days. That's what it's like right now.
I am very happy because during the previous local elections, I wanted to vote, but I could not because the party I wanted to vote for was not in the race.
No opposition party was able to participate in the last legislative elections as new electoral laws at the time made it difficult for them to comply. Today, this opposition activist is relieved things have changed.
We've been waiting for this moment. Since the political breakdown, the elections have not been inclusive. We have always been excluded, but we're happy there is a change. It's already a step forward in the right direction.
In this opposition stronghold, presidential majority supporters have chosen to hold small rallies and campaign village to village instead of holding big meetings.
We have adopted a strategy of proximity campaigning. We go to the people. We talk with them. We do not want to make a fuss. We do not want to make noise. We are peaceful men and women.
Further north in Chaoru, the hometown of former head of state Thomas Boniyayi, founder of the opposition party Les Démocrates, traditional authorities are calling for peaceful elections.
These inclusive elections show that there are no problems. Let no one be afraid to go back to Chaoru. It's a competition, and may the best one win.
After peaceful elections across the country, part of the population is also hoping for the release of all those who were arrested during the violence in 2019, including 2 opposition leaders, Rekia Madugu and Joel Avo.
Sibele laseMelika McCarthy bamrejectile kokuthi abe nguSpeaker endlini yema-Republicans.
Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until noon tomorrow.
A stalemate in the House of Representatives yet again. For the second straight day on Wednesday, Republicans failed to elect a leader. Several party members once more refusing to unite behind Donald Trump ally and California Congressman Kevin McCarthy.
It's not as though momentum is shifting. Each side's digging their trenches deeper, and I think that's a disservice to those men and women that are overseas depending on us and to the people who elected us.
The Republicans edged out a House majority in last year's midterms, and McCarthy has long been touted as the replacement for Democratic Speaker Nancy Pelosi. But his centrist backers are blaming a group of conservative hardliners for blocking his route to the job, and little promise of a compromise deal is in sight. Former President Trump had called an end to the McCarthy blockade, but even his staunch supporters have dismissed his comments, pointing to alternatives like Representative Jim Jordan.
The president needs to tell Kevin McCarthy that, sir, you do not have the votes and it's time to withdraw.
The 2023 speakership race has now become the first in a century to require multiple rounds of voting, leading to criticism from all quarters.
To be able to have a Congress that can't function is just embarrassing. We're the greatest nation in the world. How can that be?
As it stands, the chamber has been left unable to swear in members, fill committees, adopt new legislation or negotiate a path forward for the country. Lawmakers-elect, though, have to continue voting until someone wins a majority, with another round now scheduled for Thursday.
CEO wenkampani Amazon somamedele ukuthi bantfu labatawulahlekelwa imisebenzi lomnyaka bangu 18,000.
New year, new job cuts as Amazon pares down payrolls that rapidly expanded during the pandemic. In a letter to employees, CEO Andy Jassy said the company would shed 18,000 positions, mostly in HR and its bricks and mortar stores.
Amazon has weathered uncertain and difficult economies in the past, and we will continue to do so. These changes will help us pursue our long-term opportunities with a stronger cost structure.
Back in November, the e-commerce giant announced that it was beginning layoffs. The company had already instituted a hiring freeze and canceled some projects like delivery robots. The current cuts amount to around 6% of its roughly 300,000 corporate staff, but still are just a fraction of its 1.5 million global workforce. The retailer rapidly expanded during the pandemic, doubling its global staff between 2020 and 2022 to meet an exploding demand for deliveries as people stuck at home shopped online with a vengeance. But now, with increasing inflation, shoppers are tightening their belts and making fewer purchases. Amazon isn't the only tech giant to slash jobs. In November, Facebook's parent company, Meta, announced it would cut 13% of its workforce, while Twitter's new owner, Elon Musk, cut half its staff, and cloud computing firm Salesforce laid off 10% of its employees. Facing the prospect of fewer sales and advertising budget cuts, the whole sector is feeling the pain of a slowing economy.
Inhlangano ye-EU icela ama-travelers lasuka eveni lase-China ukuthi enesiqiniseko sokuthi ayawuhlolelwa umkhuhlane i-COVID-19.
It's a frustrating step back for many. Just when people living in China get the go-ahead for international travel, EU nations are considering a return to mandatory testing for passengers flying in from the country. On Wednesday, the EU convened to discuss a coordinated approach, and while no impositions were made, it strongly advised member states to impose pre-flight testing and for passengers to wear masks. This comes as China is experiencing a surge in COVID cases following Beijing's abrupt U-turn on its zero-COVID strategy, which is seeing hospitals around the country being submerged by cases. Already 12 countries around the globe, including France and Italy, have implemented a mandatory negative test requirement for all passengers flying in, a decision which was slammed as unacceptable by the Chinese government.
The entry restrictions adopted by some countries targeting China lack scientific basis, and some excessive practices are even more unacceptable. We are firmly opposed to attempts to manipulate the COVID-19 measures for political purposes and will take countermeasures based on the principle of reciprocity.
In December, China reported only 22 COVID deaths using its own new strict criteria, redefining what a COVID death was. On Wednesday, the World Health Organization criticized Beijing's very narrow definition of COVID deaths and said China's official statistics underrepresent hospital admissions and deaths in the country.
There are certainly issues in terms of the criteria for recording and reporting deaths attributable to COVID-19. We believe that definition is too narrow, which requires respiratory failure in association with COVID-19 to be registered as a COVID-related death. That is a very narrow definition.
Furthermore, the EU is also recommending that countries check the wastewater from flights coming in from China as a way to detect possible new variants and to discover what percentage of passengers have COVID.
Mazgati 70 tetempilo e-UK soloti yaqhubeka nekuteleka.
People dying due to a health system that's crumbling. That's the accusation being leveled by emergency health workers in the UK, where hospitals are overloaded. More and more witness accounts from families are pouring in. In the north of the UK, 2-year-old Hallie Thompson died only a few hours after she left the emergency room. Her parents say she was examined hastily and sent home without the medical team detecting the infection that later caused her death.
It makes me very angry. Just test her, just do something.
Might be if they would keep her in on that night, might be it would be the same. But we would feel that she was in the right place and they would try to help her.
Across the UK, emergency rooms are overloaded. Waiting times have never been longer. This man says precious time was lost as his wife waited for help.
16 hours and 45 minutes I waited. I believe that if they got to my wife within the 6 hours, my wife would still be here now.
She died of a heart attack. The Royal College of Emergency Medicine estimates that around 300 to 500 patients are dying each week as a result of A&E delays. The government says this is due to a spike in flu and COVID cases. Yesterday, the Prime Minister promised new measures.
You should know we're taking urgent action, increasing bed capacity by 7,000 more hospital beds and more people cared at home.
Health workers say the measures are not enough, as the health system continues to deteriorate following years of austerity policies.
Between Afghanistan kubikwa ukuthi tibhedlela letiningi kulela live tigcwele bantfwana labadmitiwe labanesifo se-pneumonia.
At this children's hospital in Kabul, cases of pneumonia are on the rise. The harsh winter, coupled with malnutrition, the leading causes for the spike.
It's just the beginning of the winter season. My room is so cold that my child gets sick a lot. I'm worried about how we'll get through this winter. The doctors told me I need to try and keep my child warm at home.
Afghanistan is largely dependent on foreign aid and has seen its economy collapse since the Taliban's takeover. The country has witnessed a cut in development spending and the freezing of its central bank assets by Washington.
Although a number of medicines are given to us through some charity NGOs, there's still a lack of staff, doctors, specialists and nurses. And the constant flow of patients creates a big challenge for us.
Aid agencies operating in Afghanistan fear the humanitarian crisis will worsen. This after a ban on female NGO workers went into effect, making it impossible to operate.
It is very important that a female should talk to female, where the beneficiary also feel more comfortable talking with a female.
Last winter, it was humanitarian aid that prevented a famine in this country. If we are not able to deliver humanitarian aid in the same way, if not more than what we did last year, we're going to be faced with a very horrific situation across the country.
The decision to ban female NGO workers is the latest restrictive policy announcement from the Taliban. Last month, authorities also banned women from attending university.
Livela se-Ukraine lenda konke lokusemandleni alo ukuthi ivikela emasocheni ase-Russia.
These Russian soldiers are just a few kilometers from Ukraine. Deployed in Belarus, the message is clear. They're preparing for war. In December, Russian leader Vladimir Putin met with his Belarusian counterpart in Minsk, fueling Kyiv's fears that Moscow was seeking to attempt to reopen the northern front from Belarus. On the Ukrainian side, border guards and soldiers are hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. They are uncertain if an attack will come or if the rumors are just a diversion. Ukraine's chief of staff is convinced that Vladimir Putin will try again and invade from the neighboring country. So soldiers are working on strengthening fortifications and trenches.
It's for our defense, because today we are in a war of artillery. We are fighting for our security and our lives.
Digging down means being protected from bombs, missiles and shrapnel. It also allows for a better attack position.
I have no doubt that we will stop the horde of Russians coming in from Belarus. We have a lot of weapons and anti-tank missiles.
For now, as they wait for an attack which may never come, the soldiers spend their days preparing in the cold, weary from over 10 months of war.
As Minister wase-Israel sogcikiwe ngesendo sakhe sokuvakashela i-Jerusalem Holy Site.
Just days after the new Israeli government was sworn in, newly appointed police minister Itamar Ben-Gvir visited the Temple Mount, a religious site holy to both Jews and Muslims.
The Temple Mount is the most important place for the people of Israel. The Temple Mount is open for everybody. Muslims come up here, Christians, and yes, also Jews. In the government which I'm a member of, there won't be racist discrimination, and Jews will visit the Temple Mount.
But Muslims around the world see visits to the site, which is controlled by a Muslim religious trust, as a provocation. Harsh condemnations were issued by most of Israel's Arab neighbors, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's planned visit to the United Arab Emirates was postponed.
It's the entire Middle East. And Israel, the present government, should be worried about relations with members of the Abraham Accords, especially the United Arab Emirates. Jordan considers itself as a guardian of the Temple Mount, and the Ben Gvir's visit to the Temple Mount is irritating the kingdom.
U.S. and European officials also condemned actions which could jeopardize the status quo at such a sensitive site. The United Nations Security Council announced an emergency session to express international concern about the issue. The Palestinian Authority and Hamas leaders in Gaza warned that violence could be triggered by events on the Flashpoint Temple Mount, as has occurred in previous conflicts.
We call on our people to confront such incursions that aim to turn Al-Aqsa Mosque into a Jewish temple. This is a violation of all international norms, values, agreements, laws, and Israel's pledges to the American president.
Ben Gvir's Temple Mount visit is only one of many controversial policies of the new Israeli government which challenge the status quo. A broad range of groups supporting the peace process, religious pluralism, gender equality, human rights for minorities, all oppose what they see as challenges to the liberal democratic fabric of Israeli society.
They're putting out laws against gay rights and against liberal education in general. And we just feel that our country is being taken away from us.
I'm worried about the roots of Israeli democracy and the stability of Israeli democracy. I'm worried about human rights of people in Israel and under our occupation.
It is going to be disastrous for Israeli society, for the relations between Jews and Arabs. It is not going to let us live in peaceful neighborly relations. It's going to incite for violence and discrimination and hate.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insists that he is in charge of government policy and will not let his more extreme partners dictate his agenda. But Itamar Ben-Gvir's visit to the Temple Mount shows this juggling act won't be easy. Linda Gradstein for VOA News, Jerusalem.
Ansgesta uphethanga lesi iqalile ishow yama-tech innovators eLas Vegas kuleli viki.
Robot dogs doing tricks by voice command, a motorized contraption to put on a shoe to go faster, and devices promising comfort in the metaverse. They are a few of the cutting-edge innovations at the 2023 Consumer Electronics Show.
Walk and say hi. Oh, la, 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 la. And go left now. And walk.
This super cute tiny dog is just a way to demonstrate the capabilities behind voice-activated AI technology.
We have built a voice AI which allow you to control any machines, any robots, any drones or computers in the world just by using your voice.
More than 140 countries are represented at this year's show, which is the first full CES since the pandemic. 100,000 visitors are expected. Nearly half of the 3,200 exhibitors traveled here from outside the U.S., including some from Ukraine, but the show organizer banned Russian exhibitors. Gary Shapiro is the president and CEO of the Consumer Technology Association, which puts on CES. He spoke to the Associated Press.
We are not allowing Russian exhibitors at this show because of the Ukraine situation.
Being back in person is important, says Shapiro. Despite the world's reliance on technology, the pandemic proved that humans crave personal interaction. This year's CES's theme is sustainability.
So a lot of what you're seeing at this event are companies responding to societal needs and saying this is what we could do to make society better. The right to food, the right to clean air and clean water. These are things which technology can enhance.
Claire Peng of the Taiwanese company Aibel says her company's noise-canceling earbuds also use negative ions to combat viruses and air pollutants like pollen.
So it can protect users from both air pollutants and ambient noises.
Fans of the metaverse will not be disappointed with CES 2023. Despite tech layoffs this past year, virtual and augmented reality gadgets have a strong showing. Tokyo-based company Shiftall aims to make virtual reality more comfortable with a lightweight headset. Its Mute Talk, a soundproof Bluetooth microphone that prevents voice leakage, allows users to be loud in the metaverse while respecting those in the physical world.
Because the lightweight is very effective for the heavy user because they are spending tons of the time in the metaverse.
Whether a consumer prefers physical or augmented reality, CES 2023 promises new technologies that are changing life. Tina Mitchell for VOA News, Las Vegas.
Masike sitephethe lapho ngaphandle kwakuleli 3 minutes before 8 o'clock siliphethe lapho hlelo flomhla ekseni sibonga kakhulu ukuthi ube nathi lo muhla sanibona ngemsombuluko nisale kahle.